All right, in our last video, we talked about the formula to discover and unlock your superpower. Today, we're gonna show you how to use those superpowers to actually go out and change lives. Like I said in our last video, there's a message out there that we hear all the time. Do you, be you, go after your dreams. Again, so much good in that, but it's missing a key ingredient. If we just do everything for ourselves, we're never gonna actually make the difference we wanna make. So much of our talents and our abilities and our passions and our gifts and our resources are not meant to be hoarded for ourselves, but are meant to be unleashed in the service of others. When we use what we have to serve others, that's when we really make a difference. Because think about this, when you die, how do you wanna be remembered? If you go to a funeral and that person was all about themselves, that funeral is really uninspiring. The most inspiring stories for us are people that were totally themselves and yet used what they had to serve and to give and to be a blessing and a benefit to those around them. Those are the lives that are the most inspiring to us. And that's what this video is going to be all about, is not just using your talents for you, but learning how you can use those to benefit others. And so here's a quick recap of what we've gone through so far. In step one, we talked about how you see is what makes all the difference. Seeing with a good eye. In step two, we talked about the importance of building your team, that no one changes the world by themselves. That when you get a team together of people that use their gifts in collaboration and in teamwork with one another, that's just so much more fun and so much more exciting than just doing it by yourself. And number three, we asked the question, what do you have? What are the unique skills and resources and talents and gifts and passions and strengths that you have inside of you right now? What makes you you? What do you have? And this last question, how can you use it? But before we dive into all of our exact gifts and how we can use those, I want to tell you about the most important thing that you bring to the table in this quest. The most important thing that you bring to the table in all of this is your belief that you can really make a difference. And in the midst of all the other things we talked about, your generation needs belief so badly. We talked in the beginning of this journey how your generation is so unique and so cool in so many ways. They are open, they're relational, they're ambitious, yet they deal with anxiety and loneliness. But when you take all the good of your generation and you pump belief into them, a movement could get started. And so many of those that feel anxious and lonely can be encouraged and lifted out of those places to do something epic with their lives. But they just need someone that's gonna believe, and that's where you come in. And I think your generation is gonna blow us away, but they just need people who believe. Now, when you believe that something small that you give can make a difference, when you take that little pebble you have and you throw it in the water, it does something. It creates these ripples. And I'm so amazed because when I remember going to Kenya and visiting some of the students that we've been helping out, and every time I talked to them, they would say something similar. They would say, Nick, because I've been helped, I want to help other people in the same way. Because you gave to me, I want to join you guys and help other people in the same way. Because here's the truth of the world. Helped people help people. When you feel helped, you naturally want to go give to somebody else too. When you believe, when you just use the little that you have to do something, even if it feels like nothing, it does something. It creates this ripple. People around you start to believe. The people that you help start to believe. And that's where things get really exciting. We need more people that are not worried about doing something big, but all they do is say, you know what? I may not have something big, but I'm not gonna let that stop me from just doing something. You know, I love what Mother Teresa says. She says, we can't do great things. We can only do small things with great love. And that's what you're bringing to the table. Great love, great belief. And then now anything that you bring to the table, any of those strengths, gifts, resources, things that you bring to the table, stuff's gonna happen with it because you're pumping love, you're pumping belief into it. And we have seen so many examples of young people do them, use their gifts and their passions and their resources to make a huge difference. I wanna introduce you to my friend Zoe. Zoe loved art. And she approached me and said, Nick, I want to put together an art exhibit and an art show where we teach people how to make art and then make art pieces that we can send over to the kids in Kenya. And she got a bunch of her college friends. They all came. They had an art show and an art exhibit where they made pieces of art. And it's gone on to benefit so many kids over in Kenya and encourage them because she decided to use her art. And she came to me after the event and said, Nick, I actually didn't know this about myself until I did this project, where now I really realized that I can make a difference through my passion of art, which was so cool to me. And so we had Zoe. We had my friend Noah. He loved volleyball. He said, I'm throwing together a volleyball tournament for all of my friends to make a difference for kids out in Kenya. We had my friend Nate up in Canada that said, I love music. So he hosted an open mic night that benefited kids in poverty. My friend Raisa loved to bake. And so one night she stayed up all night making cupcakes and baked goods and went on her college campus and started selling it, on her college campus. We've had people say, I love to dance, and throw dance parties to help kids. We've had New Year's parties, people coming together to end the year and start the year by helping kids and making a difference. People have played video games to help kids. People have used their birthdays to help kids. Or here's my friend Justin. Justin was born with cerebral palsy, and so he doesn't have the use of his legs. And he could have easily, with a bad eye, looked at that and said, I don't have anything to give. But with a good eye, he said, you know what I do have? I have my story. I have the ability to write. And so he wrote this book called The Boy with Six Legs that has encouraged people like him in his exact circumstances. All of us have something to give. One of my favorite stories comes from my sister. When she was in high school, she said, I love to write. And so she decided to start something called the Encouragement Revolution, where she said, I'm gonna write 50 cards for people in my school. People that I know, people that I've never met before. To my teachers, to the janitor, I'm just gonna write 50 cards and try to have this revolution of encouragement. And so she just handed out these 50 cards. At the end of the year, she did a presentation on it in front of her whole school, and the principal came up to my parents and told them, Mackenzie has helped change our school. Now, did she do anything big? Not really. She just used her love of writing, her love of encouragement, and decided to write cards. And from that, it made a huge difference. And so many of those efforts went to go help out kids in Kenya go to school that otherwise wouldn't have had a chance to go to school. It's been said that education is one of the best ways to eliminate poverty. And so in all of this, people use their gifts to give education to kids that now have an opportunity to go after their dreams. Who would think that a basketball tournament, a volleyball tournament, an art show, some cupcakes could go into breaking cycles of poverty and giving opportunities to kids that really need it, that they otherwise wouldn't have had. And so again, you don't have to do something big. You just have to do something. So here's what I want you to do this week. I want you to get together with your team and discuss how can we use our passions, talents, resources to host an event that can be used to help other kids? What can you do with your passions and your gifts to help others? Discuss it with your team. Discuss something that you could do that would be so fun to rally a bunch of your friends around a good cause. Second, I want you to go through your list of resources, and then I want you to do something important. I want you to have a big ask. What I mean by that is there's a lot of people that are willing to, that are wanting to give. You just need to ask them. The local business that can donate some gift cards, your wealthier friend that can donate a huge amount of money, your teacher that could donate something, the gym that might be able to donate their space for free, someone that has a big house that could host a party for free. Go through that list of resources and brainstorm with your team. Who could we make a big ask to and see what happens? The worst they could say is no, but go ask them. People are inspired by a bold vision, and they want to give to you. And it's not just for you. You're inviting them to use their gifts into something that really matters. And again, for those in our program, you'll have a JamQuest coach that will be coaching you through this whole process, that can give you ideas, brainstorm with you. But as we close, here's what I know. When you bring what you have, and you bring it with belief, with love, with an attitude to serve others, it sends a cascading force into the world that inspires people to give also. You are making a difference. And I cannot wait to see how you use your gifts and all that you have to serve others. I'm so excited for your event. You can find an event checklist in our workbook. And then after your event, I want you to come back for one last video where we're gonna talk about step 5 in that quest to change the world that I think is a really important part of this whole process. So come back after your event, drop a comment, tell us what you did for your event. We'd love to see it because it inspires people all over the world. But we'll see you soon.